I'm Kevin Coleman, Weber's grilling expert. It's a beautiful day outside. We're in front of our grill. It doesn't get any better until you look at these steaks. And that's the topic of today's masterclass, how to grill the perfect steak. We're going to give you 10 easy tips to follow to take your steak grilling skills to another level. Now the first tip is make your grilling game plan. You need to know what kind of steak you're cooking and how thick. That way we know how long it's going to be on the grill. Also, make sure you're taking your steaks out 10 to 15 minutes before you grill them. That way they can come up to room temperature. You've made your grilling game plan. Now let's go on to tip number 2, and that's taking an inventory of our grill. Now you need to look inside. If you're noticing any debris, you need to clean that out. We want as much air circulation going on as possible. This is also a good time to gather any accessories and tools that we're going to need for grilling these steaks. We've cleaned out our grill. We've got all the tools and accessories we're going to need. Now let's go to tip number 3, preparing our grill. Since these steaks are going to take less than 20 minutes, we're going to be using the direct method. We've got our grill prepared, and that's what takes us to tip number 4, preheating your grill. And this is by far the most important step in grilling a steak. This sets the whole tone. This brings the grill up to temperature, and that's what helps in searing. Those beautiful grill marks that we see, that's where all that great flavor comes from. So preheating is critical. The reasons why we oil our food and not the grates is it creates a barrier between the food and the cooking grates. It helps with caramelization, and it also helps the food from sticking to the cooking grates. Once you've oiled both sides, now it's time to season. And this is going to add some great flavor to your grilled steak. We've got our steaks prepared. Now we're on to tip number 6, which is cleaning our cooking grates. Today we're going to be using our gourmet barbecue system with sear grate insert, which helps create perfect grill marks on your steak. Just remember, the best time to clean your cooking grates is right after you preheat your grill. We've got our cooking grates clean. Now let's put our steaks on. We've got our food on and our timer's going off, and that takes us to tip number 8, which is searing. And that usually happens in the first 2 to 3 minutes when we put our food on a hot grate. Our timer's gone off again, which means it's time to flip, and that's tip number 9. Whenever you're grilling directly, you should only turn your food once. We've got our steak off the grill, and we're now on tip number 10, letting your food rest. And this should be about 30 to 40% of the total cook time. This will allow it to relax and the juices to run back into it. It's been a beautiful day. We have an amazing steak, and with these 10 tips, the next time you grill a steak, you won't be disappointed. If you have any other questions, you can find us here on Weber.com, refer to your owner's manual, or call our customer service at 1-800-446-1071. And always, happy grilling.
So long as you're starting with high quality beef, cooking a good steak is as easy as throwing it on the grill or searing it in a hot skillet. But if you want perfect steak, and I'm talking steak with a rich, brown, crackling crust and a medium rare core that extends all the way from edge to edge, then you need to take your technique to the next level. Now, traditional methods like broiling, grilling, or searing in a skillet leave you with one problem. Your steak develops a temperature gradient inside it. So while the very center of the meat might be a perfect medium rare, as you move towards the outer layers, it becomes more and more cooked until you reach the edges, which have the dry, chewy texture of well-done meat. So the question is, how do you minimize this overcooking? So here's the thing, the more gently you cook your food, the smaller that temperature gradient inside is going to be. So for instance, if you cook a steak in a 500-degree oven, you're going to develop a pretty thick band of gray meat inside. Cook that same steak in a 250-degree oven, and that gray band shrinks significantly. You may have heard of a concept called sous vide cooking, and the idea here is to take that low temperature cooking to the extreme. With sous vide cooking, you place your steak inside a sealed plastic bag and then put that plastic bag in a water bath held at the exact temperature that you want to serve your steak at, say 130 degrees for medium rare. About 45 minutes later, you take your steak out of that bag and it's perfectly evenly cooked from edge to edge with no temperature gradient and no danger of overcooking. The problem is that sous vide equipment is really expensive, but there's an alternative. A regular old $30 beer cooler. Even though a cooler is designed to keep cool things cool, it's equally good at keeping hot things hot. So all you've got to do is fill it up with hot water, adjust the temperature with boiling water or cold water, and then placed your bag meat inside it to cook. So long as you start a few degrees higher in order to compensate for the heat loss when you add your meat, it should be able to maintain its temperature for the 45 minutes required to cook most steaks, pork chops, lamb chops, chicken, or fish. You can cook your meat either in a cryovac style bag or in a regular heavy duty zipper lock bag. In order to get the air out of a zipper lock bag, put your meat inside it, zip it up most of the way, and then slowly lower it into the water, sealing it just as the air is forced out. You've probably noticed one glaring problem. Your steak develops no crust or color. You're gonna have to add this after it comes out of the cooler. Now you can do this on a grill if you want to cook outside, but my personal favorite way is to finish it in a cast iron skillet. Just heat up some oil over the highest possible heat while you carefully dry the outside of the steak in order to help it brown faster. Season the steak generously with salt and pepper, and once the oil starts smoking, add the steak to the pan along with a couple of pats of butter. Cook the steak just until it's browned on both sides, about a minute or two, and then to finish it off, hold it up vertically with tongs in order to get the edges. The beauty of this method is total flexibility in terms of timing. Once your steak comes up to temperature inside the cooler, you can let it sit there for up to a few hours longer without worrying that it's going to overcook. Your steak is going to be hot and ready to sear as soon as you're ready to eat. You want to up your game even further? Then get yourself one of these guys. By combining the intense heat of a propane torch with a cast iron skillet, you can get a steakhouse quality char in a matter of moments. Just make sure that you shut off your smoke detectors first. It may take a little bit more time, but if you're willing to put in the effort, this is the best quality steak you can get at home.